Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, how are we getting on? Welcome back to TENPINES BLUFF. So, today we're going to work on a little armory and securing the entranceway a little more, make a bit of a checkpoint down here. So, relatively simple build, although fiddly as all hell, given that I had a fair bit of trouble sinking the pillar in. And I was working in some fairly confined, even, spaces as well, which did not make things any easier. So, first things first, as we can't really get the foundations in where I want them, I'm going straight for the floor pieces. We'll use the highest point in the ground as a start-off point. So we've got a bit of floating, but we can deal with that later. The lines are looking pretty good. And we'll drop the last couple of pieces in. Tidy up a little bit. And there we go. Neat and tidy. So, very simple in its basic structure. Very simple. But we'll make things a little bit more interesting in a moment. So we've only got small space, so as it's a storage facility really, it needs to be fairly sensibly designed. There we go, warehouse pieces, and the doorway. So because I'm going to texture up the outside and make it look a little bit more supported in a moment, I didn't worry too much about mixing and matching with the pieces, the wall pieces I used. We are going to make the roof a little more interesting though. Fairly simple to do. We're going to do a sort of staggered zigzag type roof. Unfortunately this glass panel won't fit in, so we need a little extra support for it. There we go. Now it's got something to snap to. There we go. And same on this side, so we've got a little bit of natural light in here. Perhaps not the securest thing in the world, but it's inside a fort at the end of the day. It doesn't really need to be that crazy secure. If the massive walls around the place and guards all around the place don't do the job, then worrying about whether or not there's a bit of glass probably won't matter. So, slightly more interesting roof, and we'll get a staircase on, but for some reason this wouldn't snap. And I have absolutely no idea why. The wooden shack one wouldn't snap either, which was very, very strange, but as we'll need to build a double height one anyway, we'll just group select it in. So grab this upper level. In hindsight this probably would have been easier to do if I'd sunk the upper one into the top step, just so I could line up the edges more easily, and then lifted it back up once I got them lined up. But I managed to get it pretty straight just by sort of free-aiming it, free-handing it. So grab it with the group select and drop into place. There we go, neat and tidy. Unfortunately there's one small error I did make. I meant to put a cinder block underneath that floating bottom corner, but I did forget to do that, so it's one I'll have to go back to. So we can use these double height junk fences to provide a little bit extra support. We've done it quite a lot already around the settlement, but in this particular location, as I've mentioned before, it was somewhat challenging. As you can see, I've got a very, very small gap to work with there. So we'll pull those floor pieces out just to give us a little bit more room. And I've got it positioned on the inside like this with the rug right on the edge there, which took a lot of fiddling to get the rug glitch to work on that particular corner, but that way it avoids collision with the building and I can actually sink the pillar into what little bit of ground we've got here. Let's step back a bit so I can actually see what I'm doing. The idea is to line it up with that upper horizontal line there at the top of the main wall piece. And there we go. There's a little bit of clipping going on the inside here, so I did pull it back a little bit, but due to the space I had available and such, it was a limited amount I could actually do there, so I didn't end up worrying about it too much. Looks okay when we've decorated inside anyway. So we'll snap these floor pieces back in, mess around with them a bit. I'm quite pleased they went in as easily as they did actually. But I don't want it looking any more than it has to, like it's snapping straight through the floor. So we use the one with a hole in it. So we'll take another look at it here. It's much the same thing. Put the rug at the edge, which takes quite a lot of fiddling to get it to work, but We'll get there eventually. Turning it around the side worked on this one. I need it behind the front edge of the junk fence here, otherwise we'll have the collision issue again. There we go. Now I'll group select it in. So, beyond this point, actually one other thing I wanted to point out, because these junk fences don't quite cover the whole width of the walls, I'm lining them up with the outer edges and then we'll just put some support in the middle. I did think about glitching a third one in, but it would have been a total pain and kind of unnecessary really anyway. It looks pretty good, so I was quite happy with that. So yes, what I was going to say, since we're going to be repeating this a couple more times, was I wanted to make a passing sort of semi-final remark on Fallout 76 prior to whenever the beta eventually goes live. Which is, if you haven't already taken a look, I've done a video analysing it, or analysing what we know in a little more detail. Beneath that there are a couple of links in the comment I've pinned to a couple of interviews Todd Howard did sort of straight after the conference. If you watch nothing else, watch those, because they will allay a lot of fears and explain in a lot more detail than the actual showcase did about how the game's going to work. I know there's a lot of concerns around the PvP and the multiplayer and so on and so forth, which in a lot of ways wasn't really very well covered in the showcase, so those interviews go into a little bit more depth and explain what they're thinking and what they're going to do in quite a lot more detail, so it's well worth a look. And of course it touches on most of the other stuff they revealed as well, so that's very cool. Anyway, repeating the procedure with the gap we've got here, because I had to pull that little floor piece out. Unfortunately this one won't snap back in, which is why we've got the 3 there. The full size one rather won't snap back in. So this one I wanted to leave in because it's slightly different. I needed to use a short chain here because, again, I was having an absolute nightmare sinking things in. As you can see from the bullet holes, I got a little bit frustrated with it. There we go. So by positioning things further back, using a chain of rugs and having the pillar a lot further away, I was able to actually sink the thing in properly and get it lined up like this. So there's a little bit of patience and adaptive rug glitching, I suppose, required to get this to work, but they do go in eventually. Of course, if you're not having problems with sinking your pillar in, then carry on. Lucky you. So we now have all the supports in around the building. We're going to support the little gaps here, make it look like the thing's not floating too much with some cinder blocks. I've actually not put enough on the stack here, so we'll put a third one on. And then the bottom one acts in much the same way as the rug glitch, so we'll just use that, grab the pillar and group select so it would sink it in. There's one other thing. When you're placing these cinder blocks close together, there tends to be one edge that's softer than the others, so sometimes spinning them around if they won't sit where you want them will make things a bit easier for you. So, line that up, lift it up, and there we go. We'll do the same thing on this corner as well. I think I did the same actually most of the way around the building, because there's a few points where it actually floats, but it makes the thing look suitably propped up and still somewhat improvised as well. I was getting a little worried at this stage as to just how close to these cinder blocks I'd need to get the pillar there. If you get them too close, you start having sort of other collision issues and reach issues and that sort of thing. But that went in just fine. A little bit of clipping, but you know, sort that out later. So, I wanted a little security cage on the way in here, just to make the armory that bit more secure. So, we're going to use these security fences here just to provide that effect. Unfortunately, this one won't go in quite so well. I've used the half depth one on the side there because this is quite a confined space. I wanted a reasonable amount of storage space inside, so that way we get the best of both worlds. So we'll pull that back, drop it on the rug, still being a little bit temperamental. There we go. Also means we push it over a little further to the left and line the two doorways up, which looks far, far better. Which it didn't initially want to do. A little bit of tweaking, I'll line it up with the gaps in the floorboards. There we go. So we can use automatically closing doors, which will require rug glitching in. However, it's kind of hard to tell which way these open, so when it eventually wants to play ball, drop it down and just quickly check. There we go. I want it opening inwards and to the right, so that's what this one will do if it's this way round. Make sure I remember which way round I've got the door. We'll drop it on a rug and slide it into place. Yep, neat and tidy. So, same principle again on the outside. Except I'm not quite sure which door again. I want it opening inward. Inward to the left, was it, I think? Yeah. Which this one will do. So, get the menu open again, and we'll grab this one. And because we need to put it in from the inside, make sure we've got it the right way around again. And there we go. Little bit close for comfort trying to do this, but we manage. There we go. One nice and secure armory. So, we turn this open area just behind the gate into a sort of secure checkpoint and a place to search anybody coming into the fort. So, I'm going to fence it off. Just going to use the chain link to form the basis of that. So, we'll rug glitch that in. It was a little temperamental trying to get these in because I wanted them very close to the junk fences, and the floorboards obviously getting in the way as well. Particularly these half-width pieces are the pole on the left end sinks below the ground, so collision issues galore. So we've got an automatically closing chain link gate here, which we've got a full-size one we'll use in a bit as well. It was a little fiddly to get this onto the rug properly. Trying to find the connection point was frustrating for a minute. It's just to the left of the gate here. We'll get there in a moment. I thought it might be because of where I was trying in the confined space there to make the glitch work, but nope, there we go, we've got it. So we'll just connect it with the links there on the side. Make sure things are lined up properly. It's a little too far back there, so the rug's starting to force it up into the air a bit on the slope. So right on the edge. There we go. The same again to close this corner off, except we're having a collision with the rug again, so we use a short chain here. We're going to use 2. There we go. Still a little bit sticking out a little bit too far there, so turn it around a bit. Unfortunately, I did need some overlap here, which was slightly inconvenient, but we got things going. So over on the other side here, we're going to repeat the same procedure. Line up with from the post beside the gate there up to the wall of the shack. I think I'm going to turn that shack into a kind of guard station, I suppose. Somewhere for the people manning the checkpoint to hang out and do whatever paperwork they need to do and so on and so forth. So plug that up again. Chain of 3 rugs here because the rise in the ground there has been a little inconvenient. There we go. A little bit of clipping through, but it's still basically inside the wall, so it doesn't really matter. And 3rd time pays for all. Use the large gate on this side, just because it matches up better with the size of the gap and with the junk gate behind us. Actually, it fits in the gap pretty well, which was a happy coincidence. We are very, very nearly there. Get that lined up nice and neat. very noisy Brahmin, which I will be doing something about very soon, by the way. Wonderful. And plug those gaps up. One on that side. A little bit of adjustment, make sure it's very, very neat. Not that anybody's actually going to see that, but I know it's there, I suppose, so. All good. And the same again. So it's, once we drop this into place, it's just onto the decoration. And for us, onto the tour. There we go. So, back outside and we'll get the full effect. So I've used a couple of mods to decorate this place out. Got these vertical boards there from Toys Out of the Pram's supports mod. Got a makeshift furniture pack table there, which is somewhere for them to have anybody arriving empty their pockets out and generally search them on the way in. A little bit of storage. Just out here we've got a few lights supposed to illuminate this opening area, but unfortunately they don't. So I think I'll be tackling Automatron over this weekend and hopefully putting some of the wall mounted spotlights in there because it'll do the job much better. The stop signs are USO. In fact, all the signs are USO, to be fair. A few barrels in the corner. I've forgotten to take my pillar out, that's unfortunate. We'll take a look around the armory. So the mods in here, there's a bit of a mixture. So I grabbed another one of Toys Out of the Pram's mods because once I decided to do this, I knew it was well worth having. So we've got Toys Out of the Pram's military clutter. Got some bits and pieces from USO as well. And we've got those shelves with the Minuteman clothing on are from Aslam's workshop decoration pack. So a mixed bag. That cage in the back right corner is also in Toys Out of the Pram's mod as well. I'll actually get round to updating that mod list tonight so you'll be able to check it out for yourselves. So we've got a range of gun racks there. I quite like these ones, they stand on the floor quite nicely. Those lockers full of ammo are also Aslam's mod. Yep. Set of Minuteman power armour. I'm reasonably pleased with how this turned out. Bit compact, but should be plenty of equipment for a base of this size. So, thank you very much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, I'm sure you know what to do by now. Whoops, I'm stuck behind a door. Wonderful. So, if you like the video and you would like to support the channel more directly, you can find some information down in the description. Do consider becoming a sponsor over on YouTube Gaming. It's very, very much appreciated and it's a fantastic help. For now, thank you very much. I will be speaking to you all very, very soon.